Hello, everyone. I am Monico Allen, and this is Closet Talk. I am going to tag some people, add some people, do all that good stuff that I generally do. Um, this I couldn't go live on YouTube. I guess I'll need to figure out how to do it. Let me keep adding people. Remember, today we're going to continue talking about being in a relationship or marriage with someone who is either incarcerated or who has been incarcerated. We're going to talk about the things that may help you save your relationship if you take these steps. Oh, yeah, that was real smart. If you take these steps, it may help you save your relationship. I can't tell you that it works for everyone. Again, I am not a licensed professional, so I have to do the disclaimer. I'm just telling you that what I've lived. Everything you're going to hear here is a life lesson. I hope it could help you some way, somehow. Okay? Just give me a moment. I'm coming. I'm just tagging a few people. And then we're going to dive right in to this. I will post it on YouTube later. Just give me a minute. Okay. So, we were talking about a relationship, being in a relationship with someone who is either an ex-con or currently in prison, and how the toll that it takes on a relationship, and why people should consider professional counseling and why it would help. I started off last week, talking about myself and Stacy's relationship, and how us not seeking help is a big part of why the relationship failed, right? And so if I could help someone to not face that, I would love to be able to do that, okay? Wow, it's amazing. It's amazing. So I'm not going to do this on Wednesdays. I'm doing it tonight because I missed Monday. I will be doing this Monday at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. That's 8 p.m. Central Standard and 9 p.m. Eastern Time. I want to talk about the effect that it has on kids also. But as I went back over the video, I kind of, noticed some things that I may have left out. And that may happen from time to time. And if I have a chance, I will revisit every time that I can. It's hard. It's hard. It's hard for any person, especially a man. And again, remember, I'm speaking from my point of view. So my point of view is me as a woman trying to figure out what's going on in this man's head, who has lost his freedom, went to prison, lost control of his life, lost control of his family. And now he has to come back and get reacclimated into society, into family life. And it's hard. It's hard. It's not something that's easy to do, and they need help. And sometimes they won't let us help, right? And so they need someone that they trust, that they have a rapport with, a relationship with, so that they can receive this help, so that they can have healthy relationships, and that they can get reacclimated into society. Like I said last time, a lot of times a person go into prison and society is this way, and then when they come out, it's a whole different ball game, and no one really gives them the tools that they need to catch up, so to speak, right? And so in essence, they lose themselves, right? And they come, and then if they don't have a support system or if they're not receiving counseling, they're basically like running around like a chicken with the head cut off, because they don't know really what to do. They no longer know what's acceptable in society and what's not. If you could, please press like. If you have someone that you want to share this video with, tag them in the comments. If they're not a part of the group, I will send them a group, an invite to the group, and they could replay the video. YouTube is not letting me go live, so I have to record it and then upload it to YouTube, because I don't want just people in this group to get this message. I want this message to reach whomever may need this message, because a lot of relationships are failing because people are not getting the proper help that they need to have healthy relationships after one has been in prison, right? And so I want to help you if I can, because as I said, I had a 30-year marriage that failed, and a huge part of why the marriage failed was what took place in prison, how his life changed in prison, how he changed in prison, and how I changed also. And so there was no longer a meeting of the minds. There was no longer, we were not in agreement. We didn't see things the same. And then there was no one here giving us any tools, to help us make better decisions and to help us through that situation. So I'm doing this in the hopes that I could save someone's marriage just with some words, some encouragement, and some advice to seek help. Seek help, professional help. This person they need to know how to get reacclimated into society. And if you expect to have a successful relationship, I believe it's probably 90% requirement that they seek help, right? That they get help. I also was talking about how it affected the children. At that time, we had 3 children, and each one of our children were affected differently. I'm going to leave who was our youngest at that time. We have 4 kids now, but at that time we only had 3, and I'm gonna leave the one who was the youngest at that time last. So I can tell you for a fact, his situation will not be in tonight's video. It will be in another night's video, because he got the most negative effect. He had the most negative reaction than any of our other children, right? And what people need to understand, that a prison sentence has a blast radius, and sometimes it results in unintended victims. And our children were unintended victims of this prison sentence, because they were growing up in a 2-parent household where the father was the head and the mother took care of home. And this is what they knew, they had known for years. And that was interrupted. It was disrupted. And it shook their foundation. It shook their foundation to lose their father, to lose their protector, right? To lose their the person who takes care of them financially. It shook them. It shook their foundation. And like I said, each one of them, it had a different reaction to their father being in prison. They had a different reaction, each kid. But each had a reaction, period. Each one of our children were an unintended victim of that prison sentence. And I was young then. I was extremely young, and I was not as wise and mature as I am now. But here's what I can tell you I'm grateful to God for. We kept a roof over our head. We kept food in our mouths and clothes on our back. And I'm saying a lot when I'm saying that because, like I said, he was the main source of income in our relationship. I always had a source of income, but his income sometimes was 10 times more than what I was bringing, right? And it was never less than 4 times more than what I was bringing. So imagine in the like today you're getting like $7,000 a month, and tomorrow you're getting like $800 a month. Imagine that happens, right? And then imagine when that happens, you still have a roof over your head. You still have food in your mouth, and you still have clothes on your children's back and on your back. So I know that I'm blessed, and I know that as horribly as it affected us, there are people who are affected far worse than what we were. So I'm grateful for that. I am grateful for that. Even though I'm coming to you from a point of being an unintended victim, right? Even though I'm coming to you from a point of being in that blast radius, because no matter what, I didn't commit the crime. Our children didn't commit the crime, right? He committed the crime. But however, we were in the blast radius. Even his mother was in the blast radius because she became extremely ill. And his oldest sister is disabled. And his oldest brother lived in a different state. So he, in essence, was really the only caretaker for his mother. So she became a part of that blast radius as well. And so we were all unintended victims. Take that upstairs. I'm sorry, I'm talking to my grandson. Take that upstairs, baby. Watch some cartoons, okay? Nana's sorry. We were all a part of that blast radius. And so we all became unintended victims of what happened, right? At what had taken place. And I know a lot of people may watch this video and say, oh, well, he made a choice. He made a decision. Yeah, but until you've walked a mile in somebody's shoes, I would be very careful of saying that, because my husband kept a good job. I'm sorry, my soon-to-be ex-husband, because we are in the process of divorce and just to pay, everything is slow now. He kept a good job and he kept taking care of his family, and he's not a criminal-minded person, right? He went into survival mode. Hi, everybody. Thank you. He went into survival mode. And as he went into survival mode, this was one of the things that he thought he could do to take care of his family, right? And so therefore we became unintended victims of this situation. So we have to take that into account, and we have to think about what it does for every man, for every woman that you see that's incarcerated, that has been imprisoned. There's a huge chance that there is a family that is a part of the blast radius, and they have become unintended victims of what has just taken place. And in that, other people are affected, right? I'm gonna start off with our daughter, since she is the oldest. I'll start off with her. She's our only girl, first of all, one and only daughter. And her father had always been in her life. He had always, and then there's a side story to that too. If you know me and you know my story, you know that Stacy is not Larisha's biological father. And that's a whole nother story in itself. Even some people in here right now that I have known for 30 years do not know the full story behind my daughter being born. And I didn't learn the full story until approximately 15 years ago. I was thinking one way and it was something else. And that whole situation, we'll talk about it on another show, was another blessing of God. It was another blessing of God. So we'll talk about that later. But in any event, this is the only father she knows. This is the only father who was in her life from the time she was handheld, no cooing, no nothing, like almost straight out of the hospital. This is the father that she knows. So, and he loves his daughter, as most men do, right? And so she was very young. She was very young. Let me think. 6 years old? She was between 6 and 7 when this had taken place. And this is a very tender age. A very tender age. And though I poured in everything I could pour in to our daughter, to my daughter, as a mother, as a woman, she still, for those 6 years, she missed that male figure in her life. And I think it was even worse than maybe not having one, period, ever, right? Because remember, for 6 to 7 years, she had this constant male figure in her life. Constant. We lived together, constant. We were married. A constant male figure. So she went from that constant male figure in her life to that, to him basically being absent. And it was not by choice. It was by a decision, but not by choice. And so we didn't really see the effects that it had on her until she became a teenager, because she did not get help. None of our children, as did him, he did not get help. He did not see a therapist. Our children did not see a therapist. I've seen a therapist, but for other reasons. I never seen a therapist for this particular reason. So we were all sitting there, right, with an unresolved issue. An unresolved issue, right? A woman who had been secondary, who had been the backbone, who had been the helpmate, now having to be all that and above, right? And more. Having to be the person who bring home the bacon, who fried in the pan, then who cleans the pan. Having to do all that, right? That's my unresolved issue. A man who lost his freedom, lost his identity because he had to become someone totally different to survive in prison, right? And in essence, lost his family, right? Then children who lost the stability of the two-parent home. And I'm not suggesting that a single-parent home can't be stable. What I'm suggesting is it's stable on maybe 3 legs when it could be stable on 4 legs. That's what I'm suggesting. And that's what they knew from the beginning. He was at the hospital, like there. He cutting umbilical cords and all that. So throughout pregnancy. So they knew who their father was. They had spent a lot of time with their father. So now for 6 years, he's absent out of their life, right? And for our oldest son, he was absent during the beginning of him being in puberty. So again, this is a huge thing. So back to our daughter. When she became a teenager, we can tell, we started to see signs. When she got like 15, we started to see signs of the effects of her father being in prison for those 6 years, right? And it was shocking because I thought that we had done enough prior to him being in prison, and then me when he was in prison, and then him when he came home from prison. We thought we were making up for it, but she still had the unresolved issue of that time that male figure wasn't there. So she began to look for love in all the wrong places, right? She began to try to fill a void with a male figure, just any male figure. She had lost all sense of direction that her father had had taught her early on, and then had started to teach her when he came home from prison. You know, he always wanted to be the first one to take her out to dinner and to buy her jewelry and, you know, to take her on shopping sprees. All these things that men tend to do to lure women. And sometimes it's a good thing, but sometimes it's not, right? I think we all either know someone, if we haven't ourselves been in a relationship where one day he was like this when he was trying to get us, but then over here, once he got us, he's a whole different person. So he tried to teach her those things, right? But I think those years that were missing, and this is her story, she could tell it better than I can, but as a person on the outside of her looking in and seeing her behavior and how it changed, and I say this at like 15 because from the beginning of school until her 12th grade year, I promise you, A student, A, not A minus, B, A student. She was about her business. A student. She knew what she wanted to do. She knew where she wanted to go in life. All these things. 12th grade. Yeah. It went south, and it went south fast. Her relationship with us went south. Her relationship with herself went south. I think she didn't understand or truly know how to value herself. And me as her mother felt horrible, right? I felt horrible because I'm like, I know me. I'm a very, very positive person. I have been super skinny. I have been super overweight, and I am where I am now, right? And even when I was what they consider morbidly obese, you couldn't tell me that it didn't look good, right? You couldn't tell me that it didn't smell good. You could not kill me because I knew my worth, and there was no self-esteem issue. So I thought I had put that in my daughter because she always seen me move like this. She always seen me like, this is mom. This is how mom is. Mom stay fly. Even when she may not be fly, she still stay fly, right? And so I thought I instilled that in her. But yeah, it turns out that I didn't, and she was depressed. She was depressed, and we didn't even know that she was depressed. And then when we found out that she was depressed, you know, she did some bits and pieces of sharing, but not a whole lot of sharing with us. So just based on the bits and pieces that I got, I was able to deduce that she was affected by the years that her father had missed, and then by the person that her father had become. Because remember, I told you, who went into prison and who came out of prison were two different people. Period. Two different people. That loving, caring, protecting Stacy that got sentenced to prison life was not the same person that came home. And in doing that, so you can't turn this thing on and off. So in doing that hard exterior and even interior, because he became hard on the inside as well, he was not able to turn that off based on who he was dealing with. So even in dealing with his children, he was not the same. Even in dealing with his daughter, his one and only daughter, who years past he had treated like, imagine holding like a bubble, a big bubble in your hand, right? And if you know anything about bubbles, you know they're very unstable. And move wrong, do anything wrong, and they will pop, right? So imagine him holding that bubble for years and years and years and never allowing that bubble to pop, never allowing anything to happen to that bubble, right? This is who he was. This is what he had done. And so imagine going from that to someone who he no longer even holds the bubble, right? he had to be, I had to basically plead with him to take her to dinner, to do all these things, right? It was like pulling teeth. And I just didn't understand, like, this is your daughter. What happened? We had this discussion of how you were going to be that everything that she would look for in a man, so that when she come across somebody who's shucking and jiving, she'll be able to discern the difference. What happened? What happened to that person? What happened to that loving, caring person that she could come to and she could talk to and she could get advice from? Where'd he go? Like, where is he? Where is he? He had become, because of what he had experienced in prison, as far as seeing the people that was there in prison and seeing what they were there for, he had got in his mind that she would never date, she would never leave home, and if she tried to do anything contrary, it was a fight. So that relationship got real testy. This was a push-pull relationship. Push-pull, 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 push-pull. Hey, thank you. And so the harder he pushed, the harder she pulled. So the more he closed his grip, the more she was fighting in there to get out. So the once, I will never leave home daughter until I am fully ready, fully prepared, fully able to take care of myself, is now running away from home. 12th grade year, she started running away from home. And the damage was done at this point. When your child starts running away from home, the damage is done. Now it's about healing the damage, because it's there already and it's done. And I say that to you as someone who ran away from home all the time. All the time. I was what was considered an incorrigible runaway. I ran away from home from the time I was 11 years old. 11 years old. From the time I was 11 years old, I ran away from home. I was always running away from home. So I know personally, again, I told you a lot of things that I'm going to tell you I'm going to speak from a personal experience. Though I may not have a professional license, I have a personal experience, right? And so therefore, I'm going to speak based on my personal experience. And remember, we're still talking about being in a relationship with someone who has been in prison or is in prison, and how that can affect your life, that person's life, and your children's life. We're still there. Even though this seems like we're in a movie or we're still there, because the effects are deep. They're deep and they're long lasting, right? Deep and long lasting. So it's important that we seek professional help. It's important that we do that. Let's drop the stigma around counseling and seek professional help, because it is costing us our families. It is costing us our families, and it's just not worth the cost. It's not worth the cost. Like I said, $5 to $40 to get counseling. $5 to $40 per session to get counseling. It's worth it. It's an investment that is worth it, because the trajectory of our daughter's life changed so much. It's not even like a bump in the road. It's like being knocked into a totally different road. This is what happened to her, okay? She went from promising college future, right, to joining the military just to get away from home. She was that ready to go, because going to college, she would have still been dependent on us. And she did not want to be dependent on us. Her and her father's relationship had turned so sour that she didn't want anything from us. In essence, she was running from us, her parents. She was running from us. And all of this is an effect of him going to prison and not getting professional help. So the original effect was him being missing out her life, right? Then the other effect is him not having the proper tools to deal with his daughter, to talk to his daughter, to treat her lovingly and kindly, because he had become so hard on the inside and the outside. He no longer had that soft touch. And so she was fighting and he was fighting. And it was just a failed relationship. And even to this day, and now I'm in this because her and my relationship is push-pull now, right? Because I believe that she believes that I didn't do enough. And that could be true. I will not sit here and say I did enough. I will say that I did what I knew to do, right? I did what I was equipped to do. The tools that I had, I did everything I could based on those tools, right? I'll say that. But I can't change her perception of the situation, though I wish I could. Truth is, I can't. I can't. So when I tell you that this is deep and long lasting, right? This is deep and long lasting. Our fourth child was born when Stacy got out of, I got pregnant, and then he was born after Stacy was out of prison. He's 18 years old now. He's 18, and we're still having problems with our daughter, with our sons, those other two, because of this situation. I don't care what goes on. When we sit down and we dissect the problem, it's all going to lead back to that prison sentence and that inability, right, to get reacclimated with society. It's all going to lead back to that. It's all going to, I am confident. I know we shouldn't use those words. I am confident in saying it's all going to lead back to that situation. So when I tell you, seek professional help. If you are in a relationship with someone who is in prison or who has done a prison bid, seek professional counseling if you want your relationship to work. If you want the relationship with your kids and that person to work. Everyone they need to know how to resolve what is going on. Hello. They need to know how to resolve what is going on. And I don't care how smart we believe we are, how savvy we believe we are ill-equipped to fix these things. We're ill-equipped and we need professional assistance to fix these things. So I'm telling you, because to this day, that relationship, the relationship between my daughter and myself is sour, and the relationship between her and her father is sour. And there are a lot of unresolved issues that can be traced back to that prison sentence. Now, I'm going to go on to our middle son, because there's a lot of other stuff, but again, that's her story. I don't want to tell her full story. I just want to give you bits and pieces of what I know to be the thing that affected her, right? So our middle son, who is our oldest son, I'm sorry, not our middle son, our oldest son, middle child, oldest son, he is, so the effect it had on him was just flat out depression from the beginning. From the time so what I did was, until I knew that their father was really going to be in jail, I wouldn't let them see him. I would let them talk to him, but I didn't want them to see him like that if they didn't have to. I didn't want to cause any unnecessary damage, right? So I didn't want them to see him like that until I knew for a fact, okay, he's going to be here. And so then that's when I did it. And so from the time our oldest son, which is his junior, seen this, seen his father's situation, he was in depression. And to this day, he is still depressed. And to this day, he is still depressed. He is doing wonderful things with his life, as is our daughter. Let me say that too. As she also is too. He's doing wonderful things with his life, but he still suffers. He still suffers from depression. And it's unresolved issues, right? It's unresolved issues. So, if you know me and you know my relationship with my children, and you ever heard me say anything about if me and Stacy break up, this is how the split of the children would be when they were kids. All the kids outside of Stacy Jr. is coming with me. Stacy Jr. is going with his father. And I said this pre-prison and after prison. Pre and post. This young man loves his father. Loves his father, right? His father missed the beginning of puberty with him. He missed flag football, right? The beginning of him getting into sports, like really getting serious with sports and really falling in love with sports. His father missed that, right? He missed those years. And it weighed heavy on our oldest son, because not only was his father not there, a lot of his teammates and people who he considered friends, father was there. So there was the sting of that. I'm talking about Big Stacy and Little Stacy right now. So Big Stacy being absent during the years of Little Stacy's life when he was approaching puberty and becoming aware of sports and his love for sports. His father wasn't there. And if you know anything about me, I don't know nothing about no sports. So I was not able to help him, right? I was unable to assist in that situation. And I don't even think it really would have mattered much if I could, because he wanted his father there. And so he was really depressed, right? And again, no help, no professional help. He was depressed. He wanted his father there. He was missing his father, and he needed certain talks that only his father would be able to do for him, because I tried. Even until this day. This is a kid who is very withdrawn, who is very private, right? Mannerable, respectful, and believes that there are certain conversations he should not have with his mother. Even until this day. And he is married with children. And he's still not comfortable having certain conversations with me, his mother. But he will have those conversations with his father. Go figure, right? Works for him, works for me. That's his thing. And that's even after a 6-year prison sentence that his father did, right? Still has that relationship, still has that respect, but had a lot of questions that went unanswered. Not only unanswered by me, unanswered by his father, and then of course there was no professional assistance there. Again, I'm still talking about the effects that a prison sentence can have on a family. Remember, it's a blast, right? It's like a bomb going off. And there is always a blast radius. And sometimes that radius results in unintended victims. And our children can be those unintended victims, right? I'm going to stop here. We will continue. I said I'm going to start doing this on Mondays at 6, because I do Closet Talk Crosses the Church's Legs at Tuesdays at 6. So Mondays at 6. Uh-oh. I'm going to do this. Sorry, you guys, everything popped loose. I guess that got tired of holding. So it popped loose. Sorry about that. Mondays at 6, we're going to do just regular closet talk, okay? Tuesdays at 6, it's going to be Closet Talk Uncrosses the Church's Legs. Now, Closet Talk Uncrosses the Church's Legs will be on my main page. This one will still remain in Closet Talk, okay? If you think that you know someone that may benefit from this video, tag them. I'll send them an invite to the group, and they can watch along with us from now on, and then they can go back and replay these videos. I thank you guys for your support, right? Please know, if it's not for you, it may be for someone that you know. So don't be stingy. Share. Share, share, share. Don't be stingy, because we're trying to help people here. We're trying to help people actually master relationships as close as you can. Yeah, no problem. No problem. Thank you guys again. I love you guys. And if you didn't watch the entire video, you can replay and start from the beginning. I will be posting it on YouTube. It takes me a minute, okay, to get it on YouTube. There are lots of steps. I love you guys, and see you next week. Bye.